Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivamy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we're talking about the Titans, the kaijus of old. We're talking about Godzilla / Kong, the New Empire.
And there's been some discussion about this title. I don't know if you guys have ever heard us discuss a title, but the first movie is called Godzilla vs. Kong. So I don't know where the X// came into play here.
If you're typing it on a keyboard, it's Godzilla X Kong. Mm-hmm. And one of our fans, I believe on Tumblr.
One of our listeners messaged me on Tumblr. Thank you. Love Tumblr being alive and well.
Appreciate
my favorite social media platform.
Appreciate you, Tumblr. Appreciate you, fan on Tumblr, messaging us and clarifying that it's supposed to be pronounced as a slash.
We're told it's a slash. I'm happy to follow that rule. I love slash myself. I'm known to be a slasher.
I'm literally going with just this one piece of information we provided.
If you've provided us false information, what a good little April Fool's Day prank. It is April 1st when this episode comes out.
Oh, dang.
I'll have you know.
Maybe
we might have got bamboozled.
We might have got bamboozled.
This is a pretty planted
what I don't
bamboozle.
Understand, a slash exists, so why not, you know?
This is based on nothing. I shouldn't say it because I have no basis for this.
Lay it on me.
But I think in anime they've been using X's to mean slash because I know there's an anime called Spy X Family.
Oh,
and I think when we saw a trailer for Spy X Family, it was Spy/Family. Remember I leaned over to you and I was like, I've been pronouncing that wrong. Because I've just been saying X.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So I think there might be a whole world we're unaware of.
I don't know why.
Much like the Hollow world in Kong versus Godzilla.
Much like the Monarch universe of the Godzilla / Kong, the New Empire universe.
We're tying it all together.
The subtitle is not necessary if it's not the same title as the previous movie. I'll add that at the very end.
That's why I don't know.
It was Godzilla v Kong. Now it's Godzilla / Kong, the New Empire. We don't need that.
But they have recurring characters. The characters are back. The universe is the same. We're expanding. Yep. Why did the VS become an X?
Coming out the weekend after Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, some focus group somewhere determined that movies with the word empire in it sell better. And clearly that titling was just made by committee.
Yeah.
But
what happened to Dune 2 Spice Empire?
Right? Give me Spice Empire. That's fun. I don't hate that.
I mean, it is an empire.
It is.
That's probably the most empire of the 3 movies we've seen that have empires in them.
I'm agreeing with you.
I like that, and I want it to keep going. So if I just keep talking, you have to keep agreeing with me.
That's not how it works.
I think if I don't change my opinion.
The amount of times I've seen you double down on opinions until you get wrong, I have to disagree.
I've worked my circular logic around.
Yeah, you've gone too far with it.
I've done that.
But we're talking about Godzilla / Kong, the New Empire, and it's a new film, just came out this weekend, so we're going to give you a spoiler-free review. Then, once you hear the theme music, that is when we will be entering the spoiler-filled section. And as well, I will mention that anyone who wants more Godzilla or Kong talk, our Patreon episode this month is going to be on Shin Godzilla, the 2016 film. So we'll be talking about that very soon over on our Patreon page, which is going to be our monthly exclusive over there at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And just one other announcement as well. If any of our listeners are in the Ottawa area, I will be performing at the Laugh Lounge in Ottawa on April 26th and 27th. So if you're in the Ottawa area, come out and see me perform stand-up comedy on April 26th and 27th at the Laugh Lounge. You can find tickets by searching Laugh Lounge, or I'll be posting on social media as well. And let's talk a spoiler-free review right now. Godzilla / Kong, the New Empire. Diana, did you like it?
I did like it. It's dumb fun that I can respect. Kong goes on a nice journey that was heartwarming and heartbreaking, and you're like, oh no, you're worried about Kong. I really like all the humans, which is rare. I think all of these actors are really popping and doing a really good job with the limited dumb material they're given. But also I think maybe the strength of this movie is that it's all very dumb and it's silly and it's ridiculous. But the movie follows its own logic and never betrays the weird logic it's implied. There's kind of magic and there's titans and whatever, but it's this is what we've laid down and we won't betray any of that. So you can follow this very silly plot and be they did say that. So at no point are you mad at the movie. So I just had a fun time. It's monsters fighting monsters. I liked all the humans. I don't think it had to be quite... Actually, you know what? The runtime said an hour 54, but I think it was an hour 45, which I think actually was pretty sweet. So yeah, I'm going to give it a like. not a love. I think I liked it more than Godzilla vs. Kong, a movie I barely recall. But because I barely recall it, I'm going to assume I like this one better. So yeah, I'm gonna give this a fine to like. Had a good time with these monsters having a mash. Andrew, did you like Godzilla / Kong: The New Empire?
I'm a little conflicted. I think I liked it fine. I think I'm kind of at a fine for this. I liked it more as it went on and I recalibrated my brain. Because I will say that this is actually within not the complete Godzilla universe, but within like these connected films. The films that include like Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla vs. Kong, the Monarch TV show. This is the silliest. It's the most outlandish. I am actually going to say that this is closer to a family movie, that this is like a full-on rated G. I'm going to say that this is closer to like DreamWorks presents Godzilla vs. Godzilla / Kong, because it's largely animated entirely. Like not just like there's a lot of CGI in a Godzilla movie. There is, I'm going to say 50% of the movie where there's just nothing like it is an animated feature.
Yeah, it's apes on apes.
And it's relatively innocent. There's no like over gore or violence. There's nothing grounded in reality to be like, oh, the lives of the people who get damaged. Once I recalibrated my brain into like, oh, this is a family movie. And not just like a lot of Godzilla movies, it's like they're rated PG. It's something that the family could watch, but it's like, do you understand camp? Do you understand miniatures? Do you understand like...
Do you understand the history of radioactivity and bombings?
Like, do you understand the nuclear proliferation age? And it's like, no, you don't get that. And this is like sincerely an all ages for anyone. Once I recalibrated, I started liking it a lot more. Not that I was expecting like an R-rated crazy thing, but even more than anything else in this series, this connected series, this is an all-ages goof-around family movie. And I started liking it more. So I'm going to give it like a fine, but I started out disliking it, eased into a good when I kind of recalibrated what I was expecting out of it. But I do agree of all the movies in this franchise and universe, with the exception of Kong Skull Island.
We fucking love Kong Skull Island.
The best cast. I do think the humans actually connect and work, and I like the casting. This is an ensemble that I think works and works together. So I like the cast. I like this as a family movie. I'm kind of a fine lukewarm on it in general.
Okay, I like all your reasoning there. Yeah, I will agree with everything. I do think it's a family movie. I think maybe I didn't expect a lot of gore. I think like right off the top they actually like, you know what, that's maybe spoilery stuff. I won't even get into that quite yet. Yeah, and I would just say this is kind of a spoiler, but just like if you're listening to the spoiler-free review, it might be a thing you want to know. Not enough Godzilla. Kong heavy.
Yeah,
Kong heavy film.
Godzilla gets top billing, but Kong has more screen time.
Yeah, it's like when you watch like Silence of the Lambs and you're like, Anthony Hopkins isn't in this all that much.
It's just like that. It's just like that.
Same rating, storyline, performance.
Yeah, where's the lamb? You're saying the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I
just like that.
Love hearing you agree with me yet again.
It's just
Therefore,
like
I'll
that.
keep going.
Of course.
Godzilla is Anthony Hopkins. We all agree. Everyone at this table agrees.
I'm glad that we all agree. Mm-hmm. It is exactly that. But yeah, I can agree with that as well. Can this movie be spoiled?
Can it be spoiled? I don't know. Because I don't know what people expect and are surprised about in monster movies because they're not my specialty. I feel like I know if a superhero movie can be spoiled. To be like, yes, this thing in the comic happened and it can be spoiled that it happened. Like, I don't know what people expect in a Godzilla or Kong movie. You answer the question about can it be spoiled. No, you have to do it. It's not.
No, it can't be. I'm saying no. It can't be spoiled. No.
You were refusing me.
You are over. Think of it like a movie. You know when we review movies on the podcast, and I ask you if a movie can be spoiled?
Yeah.
Just that. You don't need to think about it at you don't think about comics and lore and can it be spoiled if you know the thing. Movie. Can movie be spoiled?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Movie spoiled.
I'm going to say no. It does what the movie title tells you it does.
Okay.
Where there is Godzilla / Kong, and they go up against adversaries that are also large. And
Full of spoilers.
you
now.
get exactly the thing that you see in the trailers and that you bought a ticket for.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're a fine to good, and I don't think it can be spoiled, but you think it can be
I
spoiled.
think there's a spoiler in there.
Okay, well, we can figure. We'll talk about it in the spoiler-filled section. But let's get into it. Let's get into the spoiler-filled section on Godzilla / Kong: The New Empire. All right, what do you think can be spoiled?
I think the fact that Mothra's here can be spoiled because we're like 5 movies into the franchise and we hadn't seen Mothra yet. And I know Mothra's popular.
Oh, I guess that is kind of a cameo. I thought Mothra was in the first one.
No, we've never seen Mothra.
No?
This is our first Mothra.
It wasn't in Godzilla?
I don't think so. They make a big deal about waking Mothra up. Did Mothra go to sleep at the end of Godzilla?
I think it did.
Oh, well, in that case, not a spoiler then. To me,
I
this
think.
was Mothra's first appearance, and to me, I'm like, oh shit, that's like a big, like when superhero movies have like a you didn't know Scarlet Witch was in this one.
I mean, even if it was in the, and I frankly can't remember the 2014 Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, Bryan Cranston movie, I cannot remember if there was a Mothra in that one. So I might be remembering it wrong. And even so, I guess I see what you're saying. That's still a cameo because it's the return of a character.
Return of Mothra.
So
Mothra awakens.
you know what? You got me.
Whoa! Let's just end the podcast there. That's fun.
That's fun.
That's fun for me.
That is fun for you. Look at you go.
Look at me go. So I wasn't sure if it could be spoiled.
All right, you know what? There is a Mothra cameo. I hadn't considered the cameo of Mothra.
But if Mothra has been there before, it's not that big of a spoiler.
Yeah.
So I just sincerely wasn't sure.
I wasn't, you know what? And I can't remember 100% either, but you played it safe, which is what the spoiler-free section is for.
Love this for us.
So I got to give it to you on that. But yeah, this has been a weird ride of a movie. I started out really being like, this sucks, and then I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, this is a little different. This is kind of a children's movie.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about one thing specifically, which is like, oh no, the loss of human life. But really early on, the movie really does frame it as like, it's less loss of human life because of Godzilla. We're supposed to be celebrating every time these guys show up to fight monsters, which is a recalibration. Like, not how we see these kind of movies. Like, normally you see all of Rome get destroyed and you're like, oh no, a bad guy. And then Godzilla just sleeps in the Colosseum like a cat. And you're supposed to be like, oh, he's a good guy.
Yeah. And it's like, and like Monarch and the 2014 Godzilla are like people being like, Hawaii and San Francisco are devastated. And like everyone is just like, is sleeping in sports arenas and you can't find your loved ones. And it's dark and it's miserable and every city is on the brink. And I think that like and we're not the experts, but in kind of like the more expanded Godzilla lore, that is a thing, is that they do become kind of these celebrated kaiju that people love and root for and think about the greater good. But the scale of this movie has changed in a lot of different directions. It's not even about like the global like greater good thing. It's just like, who gives a shit about human cities or what we're doing or what we think of it? The politics, the globe, it is really just like, we don't fucking care. We don't want to talk about it. And that's kind of fine once you recalibrate, because the other movies wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and when it's a sequel to those other movies, it is very weird. When it's such a direct sequel. Like, you can't watch this movie as a standalone and be like, this movie definitely doesn't exist in a world of other movies. Like, it just doesn't make any sense for it to, when you watch it.
Yeah.
So it definitely is a sequel with a weird vibe compared to the others. I think maybe I had forgotten the other movies to the point where I was like, except Kong Skull Island, because we fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, okay, I just like, he's cute, I guess. It felt more like watching a Power Rangers episode.
Yeah,
where they destroy Sunnydale, but you're like, but we won.
I was actually going to say, like, it felt like watching like a sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League. that took place at like the animated Hall of Justice and the Wonder Twins were there. And I'd be like, yeah, this is also a fine way to do it, but it's kind of a fucking flip-flop from where we were 2 minutes ago. Like, just to be like, you're also allowed to do this also. But I wasn't really ready to come here today.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, once you recalibrate, I do think it's a fun movie. It's a fine film. You feel so much for Kong, and I do like the humans, and that's most of this movie. So that's like a pretty big plus.
It's a huge plus that they have a great cast for this movie. Finally. Because in the Godzilla movies, Kong Skull Island being the exception, and that's also going to be just a runner throughout the episode. Anytime that we say anything about these movies, we're talking about Monarch, we're talking about Godzilla, we're talking about Godzilla versus Kong, not Kong Skull Island. That movie is perfect. Everyone is perfect in it. No notes. 10 out of 10. Watch it again today. But in these movies, they have had talented actors that have just never meshed as a cast. Like Aaron Taylor Johnson, they've had Elizabeth Olsen, Bryan Cranston, Millie Bobby Brown. A-list actors that are just kind of flat nobodies on the screen. Like the characters aren't well written. And I just think that like they didn't get who these people were in this world.
Or like the tone wasn't quite right, or like they didn't get the vibes. Like, yeah, they didn't mesh with the other actors, or they didn't get the vibes. Just very good actors who weren't especially popping in these movies.
Yes. And this cast, this ensemble pops because we've got Rebecca Hall and Kaylee Hoddle from the previous film returning, and as well, I guess Brian Tyree Henry kind of returning into like a larger capacity, and the addition of Dan Stevens. And I'm like, this is the ensemble. This is the cast. Every one of them play off each other so well.
Yeah, it's crazy to have it feels more like a utility player team. Like you have no A-listers, but these people all mesh together wildly well, and they're just all good at what they're doing. Yeah, this is an ensemble with true chemistry that you like believe, and you kind of just like don't worry about them in a weird way. It's like you trust everyone and you think they're competent, but you also think they don't know what's happening, but they're not going to be idiots about it. No one's being idiots about anything.
No one's being it. You know what they've done, and I really respect that they kind of low-key did this with some adjustments, some kind of combinations. They basically were like, what works in a creature movie? And they basically created the cast of Jurassic Park. They created two scientists with a romantic background that happened off screen, having a will they, won't they moment while trying to survive in a land that they respect and that they want to preserve. We have a military guy who gets rudely killed by a creature that he underestimates. We have a child that we have to take care of who later learns to take care of themselves. They kind of like combined a couple characters a little bit, but like it's basically like the Jurassic Park ensemble, which is the perfect competence ensemble.
Yeah, I would say Brian Tyree Henry is probably close to Jeff Goldblum-ish.
Right.
Although maybe Dan Stevens is more that, but like
I think Dan Stevens, they kind of mixed up a few there.
They did, because when Dan Stevens' character, to me, what I liked about him is in a different Jurassic way. I actually thought he was a more successful version of in the Jurassic World movies. There's a character who is a dinosaur vet who has never met a dinosaur. And we were just like, this fucking sucks. She's never met a dinosaur. What do you mean she's a dinosaur veterinarian? And like that was her whole thing. And this guy's like, no, I'm a vet for like the crazy stuff in the Hollow World, and I go to the Hollow World all the time.
Yeah,
I know who the pterodactyl things are. I know what Kong's up to. I'm like, oh yes, that works way better if he's actually met all the animals in the Hollow World.
He's like, I'm here and I get it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have experience, and that's why I've been brought along.
Awesome. Yeah, like
makes sense.
He's a little bit Laura Dern from Jurassic. He's like, it's a kind of a gender bent. He's more of an Ellie Stadler, I'm gonna put my hand in the shit and know what the Triceratops had wrong today.
He would do that. Yeah, so he'd do that no problem.
But he's also kind of waxing philosophical, like Ian Malcolm. Like he's a little bit. They've kind of mixed it up a little bit, but it's largely a Jurassic Park scientists who are competent and respect nature, this works ensemble.
I completely agree, and I really, really like Dan Stevens. I think he was my standout of all of them. I mean, Dan Stevens has always been good. I mean, we covered every season of Legion almost based on his performance alone.
Yeah.
We love this guy.
Yeah, and he rides the line that connects the worlds really well because his character is comedic, but it is not 100% pure comedy. Like Brian Tyree Henry's character is kind of made to be more of the comedic relief. And I think actually he is a wonderful actor at that. I've seen him do it in a few different movies and roles. I think he is really goddamn talented. He's really funny off the cuff, really charismatic on screen. So he is pure comedy. And then we have like the mother-daughter relationship as being the pure drama. And Dan Stevens' new character is the one that bridges those worlds. So he's one who's like 1 foot in comedy, 1 foot in drama, and it makes these characters feel more connected. It makes it feel way better than like Rebecca Hall as a mom being like, if I lose my daughter to a different world, I'll kill myself. And then a comedic character being like, well, if a plant eats me, I'm whackety slappity do. And like, it's too contrasting. But when you have a new character of Dan Stevens who's like, I get it, there's some whackety slappity do, and sometimes you just want to love the people we love. I'm like, yes.
You bridge all the gaps.
You fucking bridge it, and you really glue this whole cast together.
Yeah, a literal glue. The casts are all separate pieces, and then Dan Stevens is glue. And I'm just picturing that, and it's weird. I'm just picturing him covered in glue now.
Okay.
And it's not...
You have a beautiful mind.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
There were spoilers. I just have to remind you about that.
Dan Stevens, sticky as hell, covered in glue. Someone's into that.
You said he was the glue.
When we're saying that right now, and there's one listener who's like, when did you read my fanfic? Like, someone's into that. That's a specific thing, I think.
And just while we're on the cast and how they mesh together, I also really like, there's kind of this idea that, like I said earlier, like we trust them, and the movie feels like it trusts us to fill in the gaps. Like Dan Stevens and Rebecca Hall have this like previous romantic relationship, obviously, and they're maybe rekindling it. They definitely respect each other still. There's no disrespect between the two of them. But the movie is like, yeah, at the end they don't kiss or like are shown together or anything, but like you know that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like the movie was like cheaping out and just not showing it. I feel like the movie was like, you get it.
Yeah.
They're going to be together after this.
Yeah. The movie, I think, was both like, you get it, and also kind of going back to the like, this is an all ages family movie. They were like, you get it, and this isn't the will they won't they movie for adults. If you are a 7-year-old, you are rooting for the child to bring Mothra, and then the movie ended for you. So why would we have a scene where a romantic relationship rekindles and a marriage happens?
Yeah, you're not invested in these two adults, but you also probably were like, I bet they're together now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and also just letting the audience not only like figure it out, but just kind of like, if you're invested, if you're rooting for them, to be like, keep on rooting for them. Leave the theater with that feeling, and I like that as well.
Yeah, Schrodinger's relationship. It's like, oh, will they, won't they? But in like a way that I'm like, oh, even if they don't, I bet there's no hard feelings.
Yeah.
These are two adults who are adults.
Hey, it worked for Grant and Ellie for the Jurassic Park series, so I fully agree with that. Yeah, that they're just kind of like letting it sit.
And also on the PG front, about how you're like, the kids like seeing a kid. I don't normally like kids in movies, but I like both the kids in this. I like human kid, I like ape kid. It's like, I don't like kids that much. Mm-hmm. And also, but she's fucking phenomenal. Kaylee Hodel.
Really terrific
as
actor.
Gia, like for a character who like is just signing and having facial expressions, but also she's from a tribe who doesn't emote with their face because they're telepathic. It's like this actually really hard balance, and she's wildly expressive, and like I feel so much compassion. I feel wildly connected to her. She's really, really good.
Expressive in a way where it's like she's not culturally meant to be, where it's like there aren't an expressive people, but the main thing that she is expressing is frustration with not getting it,
with not understanding people, because she can't telepathically link with anyone on our side of the planet that's not in the Hollow Earth. Yeah, no, she phenomenally in-depth job by a very young actress, and she was way younger in the last movie and also crushed it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, phenomenal performer. And then the monkey kid, a gorilla kid, also really works.
What should we call kid? Diddy Kong? What are we?
Yes, yes,
Are we?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
That was literally
yes,
top of my
yes.
head. Because he doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there.
Slap a backwards hat that says Nintendo on this kid. Give him a boombox. This is Diddy Kong. I love it.
Okay.
Diddy.
So Diddy, I think it was very fun. You really had to like earn his trust. He had to, but then he like really shows up for Kong.
And a character that starts out as a jerk bites Kong.
Bites Kong. Kong didn't do shit.
But and takes a beating, which is also weird.
When Kong beat the other apes with Diddy Kong, I'm like, that's a child. That's a full child
Yeah.
that you have used to beat up other adult men.
Yeah, using a small Kong as a weapon was a real wild choice.
If it was an adult who just happened to be small, but this is clearly a child.
Yeah.
Like, because the Kongs are all different sizes.
Sure,
and
sure.
And our Kong is the biggest, but this is like a full kid that you smacked a bunch of adults with. It was the only moment where I was like, maybe this isn't for kids. Maybe children shouldn't watch this movie because their proxy character just got whipped around by Kong.
Love it.
It's like if Batman picked up Robin and just hit the Joker with him.
And why don't we see that?
I mean, they usually do it in a coordinated way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you do like a little flipsy doodle, but this is an against your will weaponization.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Loved it. It was absolutely awesome. Beating up other gorillas with a littler gorilla was fucking awesome.
It's everything you wanted it to be.
It really is the dream, I'm gonna say. Yeah, so that was awesome. I do want to say that like regarding to like the CGI and like the look of this movie, there was some stuff that was like awesome and there was cool. One thing that this movie, I felt like it was very bland and boring off the start, and it got a little bit better with later action scenes. But it is the fact that like there's no sense of scale, and it was really just kind of like, well, this is just dumb now when you don't. And I understand that that's tough when you're not in human cities anymore. That no longer like that first Godzilla movie, the one with Bryan Cranston and like that Gareth Edwards film, that does a really good sense of scale of like there's like dark shots where it's like a train and you pan up and keep panning and it's still Godzilla, goddamn. Mm-hmm. And Kong Skull Island, great sense of scale. This is one where it's just like, once they're like, we're in the hollow earth, which is giant and as big as Earth. And we have Kong, who's huge. And the trees are also huge. And the dogs are also huge. And I'm like, now actually we're at a point of scale where it actually looks like a normal gorilla fighting a dog. Mm-hmm, and like you gave the dog like janky teeth or whatever, but it doesn't feel epic anymore. It actually kind of feels like just... I don't know if they're 6 inches tall or 600 feet tall in a lot of this movie because the scale was all fucked up.
Yeah, it feels like just watching National Geographic, a gorilla fight a dog, a wolf.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, that's still exciting. I'm like, go gorilla.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him and his little Home Alone traps that he's set.
And like that was charming and fun. So there is some charm to it. But there's a like, I never, at no point in this movie, even frankly when like the handful of times when Godzilla was like in the human world, at no point did I feel like these creatures were huge. I felt like they were there and they could have been any scale. And there was fun stuff that were like regardless of scale. Like we'll probably talk a bit more about it, but like the anti-gravity fight scene at the end and like this big battle between 2 Godzillas and 2 Kongs. And I'm like, oh, there's some cool fight moves. And at one point there's no gravity and they're jumping around and that's cool. But it was, even when it was cool, I was like, I think that these are probably 8 feet tall gorillas. I don't really know or care anymore. There's no sense of scale.
I completely agree. I have a different note about scale that I'll get to in a second. But yeah, 100%. It's like the only time you have a sense of scale is like when Godzilla touches Gia's finger for like half a second.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I know how big a child is. So that's good. And I guess when Dan Stevens fixed his tooth because he was like on his head.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the time I was like, I don't know what's big now because he finds all these other Kongs and they're like, the regular ones are like a little bit smaller than him. And then he found the Scar King and I was like, is this the Scar King? Because he's the same size as Kong. And I know he almost beat Godzilla, who's way bigger than Kong. I think we established in the last one. He's stronger, he's beefier, he's bigger than Kong. So I was just like, I honestly, because the Kongs can't talk, I was like, I don't know if this is the Scar King. I honestly am not sure if we're going to find a bigger gorilla. And that's what they're like. Because the gorillas were also doing stuff. They were like building. And I'm like, are they trying to dig out the Scar King?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They never said what they were building because, again, they can't talk except for Kong's sign language. So I was like, yeah, and they didn't have any scale until the Scar King got like head to head with Kong. And then he was like a tiny bit taller than him, but so much skinnier. So I was like, are you the bad guy? I'm not too worried about this. And also the other apes are like only a little bit smaller than you. Why are they like so scared of you? I know you've got a guy who shoots lice, but there's so many apes.
Yeah, it really felt like they were trying to go for like something with the Scar King where it was like the Scar King is formidable, but in that like fast way. Like they were trying to go for like it's The Rock versus Jackie Chan type of a thing. And I'm like, that works when it's human actors. But it doesn't work really here, and I don't really get a sense of size.
I needed a way bigger monkey.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's got to be bigger than Kong if he, like, nearly beat Godzilla, and Godzilla was like, fuck, that sucked.
Yeah. And, like, he was
other.
cool and a cool fighter, but just visually, I'm like, this wasn't the right, I think, aesthetic or size or... And that was, I think, like, the biggest thing about, like, the visual effects of this movie is that everything is really well executed. It is executed competently, is what I should say. That everything looks good for what it was intended to be. And I feel like it just lacks vision. It lacks that little bit extra that adds that kind of scale, that adds that sense of impending doom, that adds that sense of like, holy shit, this is happening.
We are ants and there are gods fighting above us.
And it didn't have that, but it had technological competence where it's like it is Godzilla and Kong fighting a different Godzilla and a different Kong, and it's like, okay, it's well lit, and the fur is hitting the lighting effects.
Yeah,
And like,
it looks really good.
wildly competent, but just
no sense of scale.
Nah, just no sense of wow either.
No sense of wow, because my other problem with the scale, and this happened like 8 times in the movie, is that instead of like pulling back and showing us how big something was, the movie loved being super close to a weird thing. Like when the movie was like when it's like a close-up shot of this weird like bubble they found over Gia's like people.
Yeah.
And it's just like they don't pan up to show how high it goes. They're just like the screen is just full of like a green bubble. But it doesn't like show the curvature. But like not in a way that gave it scale, just in a way that I was like, I have no idea how close the camera is to this bubble.
I don't know what we're looking at.
And it happened a bunch of times where I just didn't know what we were looking at. A lot of times we'd go into the temple, we're about to wake up Mothra, and they're like, look at all these cool pyramids. And I'm like, what are we actually looking at? I don't know how close you are to it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're way too close to it. A lot of times during the action scenes, you'd be like, we're going to zoom in on Godzilla's tail. And I'd be like, why?
Well, I have no sense of speed or how fast it's moving. Like, I have nothing to compare it to. If I see its tail and I see what looks like a 30-story building go by in a fraction of a second, I know that tail's fucking moving. But when I see its tail and behind its tail is a purple glowing pyramid, I don't know what the tail is doing in any regard. So it's like the backgrounds didn't add. And there was so much effort into it to be like, this is a world within a world within a world. And there's an invisible wall that's a dome over this special city. And there's a crazy purple pyramid. And now there's floating rocks and there's a Godzilla here. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, all of these choices and not one of them are something that helps me understand the other thing. Like, helps me understand the positioning of the other thing.
Yeah, it was kind of just a mess. And even when you talked about like the no gravity fight, I'm like, that's a cool idea, but again, it had no scale. I was just like the people in the ship are like, oh no, stuff's going by. And I'm like, how big are the gorillas compared to you? How big are the rocks that you're trying to avoid in the ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just didn't. Just
kind of killed like the vibe and the feeling of it.
Yeah, it could have been a really like tense action scenes, and instead you're just like, are these regular gorillas? Like,
yeah. But I think that maybe that is the intention, because like I mentioned, this is successfully like an all ages Godzilla versus
you
Kong
don't
movie.
Scare them too bad.
No, you don't want if the child in this film is the proxy child for the kids in the theater or at home watching, to be like, hey, I could be near Mothra, I could be near Godzilla. You don't at any point want them to feel like if if Kong sneezes, I'm dead. You know, you don't want that feeling of like literally he like trips over a rock or something goes a little wrong, I'm dead. His fingernail pops off a little, it will crush me. You don't want that sense of impending doom. So maybe they were actively avoiding that. And maybe my criticism is actually something that they succeeded in making.
Yeah, that could be true. Because another thing that was very PG is that they showed a lot of the monster kills like off screen. Right. Like Diddy Kong lures Kong into that lake, or like a big like lake monster attacks Kong, and then we kind of just cut to Diddy again, and Kong's like, I killed it and I didn't show you how. And like Godzilla goes to kill Tiamat in the Arctic, and it just like happens underwater, and you just see kind of like some body parts float up.
They do show that one dog kill at the beginning in gruesome detail, but like they emphasize the green blood, which is a way to get around censors.
Yeah, I got. Oh, that's why it was so green.
Yeah, that's why they made sure every creature has green blood to make sure that it's still a PG film for all audiences.
Thank you for that. I was like, damn, he's so green in there. So some Vulcan shit happening. Yeah, some antiquated
rating system things where
that's why Spock always got hurt on Star Trek. His blood was green, so you can just show it.
Makes it simpler for rating purposes, because for some reason the color red is what's going to set everyone off in society if we see that. But yeah, just lost a little but competent CGI. And my criticism might actually be a success on their part.
Fair enough. I'll totally take that. I think there is, as I said in the spoiler-free review, not a lot of Godzilla in this movie.
Yeah, there really isn't.
Like, I'm so enthralled with Kong. His storyline's so interesting. In the last movie, his storyline was, again, also wildly interesting. I remember Godzilla also didn't have much to do in the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, if you're here for Godzilla, sorry, I guess. He's kind of just transiting most of the movie.
And I think that is a tough thing that they're kind of dealing with, where it's like, clearly this is like labeled as the Godzilla franchise that they've added Kong to, because clearly they, you know, have done some testing that says that Godzilla is more marketable, but they also want it to be about human people, and the only way to do that, or that they know how to do that in this series, is with Kong. So it was the same thing in the last movie too. It's like, hey, it's Kong, and also Godzilla's around.
Yeah, hey, it's Kong. We can actually communicate him through sign language. He has goals, he has desires, he has emotions. He's social and wants to be friends. We can actually talk to him. And you've got Godzilla, who's like more like a cat. Godzilla
is a cat, isn't he?
Godzilla doesn't want a family.
Yeah.
Godzilla is not interested in being social. Godzilla wants to, if I fits, I sits inside the Coliseum. Have a little nap.
If it fits, I sits is the energy that he brings.
Yeah, Godzilla doesn't want friends, doesn't want family, and he's been alive way longer than Kong. He's like, hasn't he? I thought he was supposed to be like thousands of years old.
I think he is supposed to be.
Because the Titans are supposed to be, like, they lived under the earth and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's been alone for forever, and he's just like, leave me alone. If you come up on this side of the earth, I'm going to fucking kill you. But, like, I'm going to leave you alone if you don't. Very cat-like.
Yeah, I get that.
Cat behavior.
Yeah, I agree that I think he is supposed to be older, because I think, like, the Godzillas, whatever they are damn near eternal, and they don't really replicate. And that Kong's, their species live a really long time, but the fact that they even procreate and have more than like two of them, if they were eternal, it should just be like all of Hollow Earth and all of all of Earth should just be populated by Kongs.
Yeah, they're pretty much just normal monkeys that are big.
Yeah, normal monkeys that are big.
I think they're just normal monkeys that are big is the impression I've gotten from them.
Yeah. I think Kong lives a little bit longer though. I think they live a bit longer.
He's turned gray very quickly. I don't remember him being gray in the last movie.
They've given him like an old manny beard. They're giving him a real vibe.
The last movie was only like 3 years ago, and I don't remember him being gray last time, unless the Hollow Earth just takes it out of you.
Yeah, you know what? That is fair.
He got the Hollow Earth, and he just instantly went
anymore.
gray.
Can't do it. Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. But yeah, like his story is just like, you're so sad. They're like, he's alone. He finds a rabbit or a frog that makes sounds that sound like a Kong, and he's just like, oh,
I hate it. He's got so a sore tooth.
And then he like that one line he has where he says, I lost home because he found all these apes and then they attacked him. It's just like, oh, this is breaking my heart. My little duck heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then he rules the planet. So.
And then he rips.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
And you know what? When Kong's drilling those monkeys, he won't make them live in the lava part. There's so many parts of the Hollow Earth that aren't made of lava.
There's so many parts of the Hollow Earth as well. The movie could frankly take a couple steps back here. A couple steps back.
Yeah, because there's Hollow Earth, and then there's like Kong found the subterranean part of Hollow Earth, and that's where the apes were.
Which doesn't make any I know none of it makes sense. I know none of it makes sense, but when something doesn't make sense and adds something that more doesn't make sense, I'm losing it. It makes no... How is there an underground part of the Hollow Earth? The Hollow Earth is a circle where the gravity's all around. The underground's up again.
But then you just go down.
You just go down.
And then there's humans in there who are inside a dome within the subterranean area.
Yeah.
So they're under the dome.
Yeah. And then there's this, so there's the secret dome, and then there's the secret underground, and then even the underground is basically like a full Hollow Earth, and the underground then has the lava layer. So the lava layer is in the secret underground, which is below the Hollow Earth, which is adjacent to the secret holographic city.
But my point is there was no reason for them to live in the lava layer.
No, they could just live anywhere else.
Like literally, I guess
Literally
maybe just
anywhere
for
else.
like threatening reasons, because the Scar King did just yeet one guy into the lava and kill him.
Yeah.
And that was kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
So like I'd live somewhere not
I think
lava.
maybe to keep that Godzilla in a prison. Because they introduce Ice Godzilla in this movie, which is like a separate, like an ice dragon, essentially, that he has. And they keep it behind
The
like
lava.
a lava waterfall, and then they push a rock in to stop the flow to allow the ice dragon out.
I mean,
so
he
maybe
already-
it's the prison,
He already controls it.
but like he's still got to sleep.
He wants it close by.
Like, yeah, and he's got to sleep, and then thinking he wants it in a
sleep.
prison. So
Gotta
maybe
sleep.
it's all just a prison. But also he has the apes building something as well that they never really get around to.
That was my main confusion point. I didn't know what the apes were building. Thought we were still looking for the Scar King.
Yeah.
But-
And the Scar King as well is the one who kills the people at the Monarch Station.
Oh yeah, so he got out.
So he left the volcano lair and the underground, and then went up to the regular Hollow Earth, and then found the Monarch Station, smashed it, and killed everyone there. And that station is next to the entrance portal.
Yeah, the portal's not very far.
So did he not find the portal? So I don't know. It's all that's all kind of a mess.
Them not knowing sign language really holds us back on understanding their motivations
What the fuck
and
was
their
going?
intelligence levels.
Yes.
Maybe he's just not good at mapping. Maybe he's just like, I really think I've looked everywhere, but I'm not good at mapping.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so Scar King, I don't know.
No, I don't know the deal. And I'd say like the only other plot point where I was like, I mean, maybe kids like it. That falls a little flat for me. As terrific as the child actor was, as terrific as Kaylee Hoddle did with that performance, and especially with the mother-daughter relationship and the emotion there, and all of the human connections of like finding your people and having a connection there and feeling a place of belonging. This whole like you're the Mothra prophecy. I was like,
What do you mean? Yeah, like
Huh?
they didn't explain it. Like, why are the people from Skull Island the only ones who can wake up Mothra? You all seem to be the same people.
Yeah.
Like, was she supposed to have like absorbed a different radiation on Skull Island, and that wakes up Mothra?
She's
Like,
the Kong person. Why is she the Mothra person?
She literally is the only one who can talk to Kong and has a psychic connection to him. Like, Kong sensed her.
Yeah.
So they have a psychic connection, and they're like, but only she can wake up Moth? I agree. This is a very, very not... I don't know how to, like, it doesn't tie in well. Not explained
it's sloppy.
well. Sloppy.
It's sloppy. Yeah. And then like there's just like random shots where it's like, like Mothra comes out and is at the Godzilla and Kong fight scene in Egypt. And Mothra's like, hey, knock it off, with like the light blast is like metaphorically like, hey, knock it off. And then it is like the child is just on top of a pyramid next to Mothra. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get there? You don't have teleportation. There are a couple of times where it's like she just shows up in a new outfit near Mothra. And I'm like, do you teleport now?
Are you part of Mothra?
Yeah, like there are points where I'm like, did you just start airbending? Like, I don't know what's going on with you. And it feels like at the last minute, they were like, I don't know, let's give the kids some superpowers. Kids like it.
Yeah, it really felt like something simple. Like she's the only one who could read a thing maybe would be better. Like, because she was from a place maybe where the language was different on Skull Island. Because even like, where was Mothra? Like, she just kind of appeared from some light. She wasn't like in a tunnel. She wasn't hibernating. Mothra's a girl, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, what do you mean you woke up? I know you guys are having full telepathic conversations that we're not privy to, but I would like you to explain it to your mother via sign language to understand why you have to wake up Mothra and how you were able to do this.
Yeah. Give me a little something, please. A little something. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Speaking of during one point when we reveal that these people have telepathic powers, and like I assume they have the whole time, it really made me want to watch Kong Skull Island again, just because it's great, but also because like knowing that those people were telepathically talking in front of John C. Reilly the whole 50 years that he lived there. And he's like, yeah, they're mute. They don't talk. I don't know how they get anything done.
Yeah, John C. Reilly is like, they never make a reaction. Let me tell you, these people are stone walls. And him just comedically playing it as they are all just like, I imagine whatever the psychological equivalent, or the telepathy equivalent of sighing is.
They are side-eyeing, but with their minds.
With their minds.
Like, can you fucking believe this guy? Oh, the fucking American idiots here. But like, their face says nothing because they can literally tell each other telepathically.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that guy's back. Jesus Christ.
And I guess they can read us telepathically as well, because at one point it's like the scientist lady is like, they can understand you. It's like, oh, do they know? No one taught them English, so I assume they're telepathically understanding what we're trying to communicate.
Yeah, that was a little unclear to me because like I don't know if they're deaf. I don't think they are, but so it's either like they're telepathic, but if they're not deaf, she doesn't know English unless she learned it from Gia, like when she touched her hands. But that would be crazy to like
a transference of language, because
that
also
seems a little above just telepathy.
And then also, if that was also the case, then they would know sign language, which none of them seem to know or be willing to communicate. Like Gia actually like functions as a flat out interpreter. So yeah, none of them pick up sign language.
So yeah,
in any
I think
way.
they must just read the idea of your thoughts.
Yeah, the intention, the intention
would be my guess.
In some regard.
At one point, they did a little sign language, which I thought was weird since they're supposed to be fully telepathic. The like princess lady was she told them all to like get out because it was going to explode and the gravity was going to get out. I was like, did you just learn sign language real quick?
Or was that just like mime work? You know, like, and that's because it wasn't subtitled. That was just her being like, explosion, run.
We gotta go.
To be like, I'm not normally going to lower myself to communicating on whatever lower form of communication you people use, but I would like you to run because explosion will happen. And then we're going to have weird gravity stuff. I think the last thing that I want to bring up is just like, I did, even though like the sense of scale wasn't there, I just kind of mindlessly had fun with the fight scenes. Is that like I do think that the fight scene in Egypt was fun. Kong just being like, no, dude, no.
Shit,
when
was
he's
so
trying
funny.
to wave off Godzilla, that's very funny. That was so good.
I forgot that happened. Thank you. That was so funny. He's
Kong's
like,
funny.
No.
Kong's funny.
Kong is doing bits. He's doing an emotional journey. Like, I love this guy.
Him trying to look tough and taking a shower in the beginning and being like, that was gross, and I had to look, like him being a little
A little huffy about it.
Yeah.
He's going through the full range of emotions. But yeah, you're right. The hand wave of like, no, wait.
No, Godzilla, I'm here to talk.
What
Really
the hell's
fun.
that girl that knows sign language?
Really fun.
Where's Mothra? Yeah, Egypt was fun. I think the final fight was a little fast for me, but then like this also was a movie that is totally CG'd, and I don't know how big their budget was. So like, you know what? Maybe it's a good long fight.
Yeah. Weirdly, I think that the budget is so much more sustainable when it's all CG, because this is largely, as much as we gave credit to the live action cast, who I think are very charming and charismatic, very funny, doing a phenomenal job. Largely, this is like a fully animated film.
That's fair. Yeah, they're not mixing a lot of practical in with the CG.
Yeah, yeah. Not a lot of layer mixing, not a lot of slipping in the actor. It's Kong running around Hollow Earth where there is no gravity and there's like a purple pyramid and you're jumping from a floating rock to a floating rock, and it's like, this is kind of a video game. And And I was about to say just a video game, but like that takes like a lot of art and a lot of work in itself. But to animate something is its own art form and requires great difficulty. To composite that and ground and connect it to real life elements is added cost and difficulty to the production as well. So I think it was almost more affordable the more animated that it was.
Yeah, I get that. And I agree. I liked all the fight scenes. Every time monsters were fighting, I'm like, actually, this is pretty dope. And I think it's really, really fun. I think the last fight scene just disappointed me because they built up the Scar King as almost defeating Godzilla, like nearly killing him. And I'm like, at the end, I'm like, Godzilla and Kong like are like uninjured. Like this battle wasn't really that hard. So I was like, oh, okay. It's like all the Avengers just beating up like Red Skull. I was like, oh, were we like he can be dangerous, but
you might be a bit overpowered for this one.
Yeah, Mothra, Godzilla, and Kong versus a dude who's mind controlling his biggest asset is like, I think we're gonna win this, you guys.
And then releasing the biggest asset and be like, it's a 3-on-1, and like I didn't have money on you in the 2-on-2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could have done a little bit longer, a little bit more dangerous Scar King. But yeah, the fights were fun. Yeah, when they like kind of like save each other too, and they'll like tackle whoever's attacking each other currently.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. That was
kind of fun. Yeah, cities were ruined, but who cares?
Yeah,
that's not the vibes.
That's not the vibes. That's not the vibes. It's just like, whatever, some cities were ruined. Don't even worry about it. The ice cap's gone, ? Don't even worry about it. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, why are there solar flares in the ice cap?
There's solar flares in the ice cap, and also Godzilla absorbed all the radiation there and made it boiling hot. So don't even worry about it.
We're fucked.
Don't.
But I'm not worried about it.
Don't even worry about it.
I'm not worried about it. I am so carefree.
Sweet. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do that, we would like to remind you, as we do every week, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, it really helps us in our hearts and on the charts. People are like, oh, this place is cool. People like them. It helps us move up, and then we all succeed together. Thank you. You did it.
You
did it if you left us a 5-star review.
Huzzah!
Huzzah.
And as well, if you do want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do that over on our Patreon page. With Patreon, you can subscribe at a monthly or yearly level in whatever capacity is in your budget. You can do as little as $1 a month, in which case those really add up. They help to keep the lights on. They help make sure that this is our full-time jobs, because it hasn't always been. It is really with the help of patrons that this has been our full-time job, and we've been able to focus on this and grow and expand the network and do so many amazing things. So even $1 adds up really quickly, and you get then our webcomic early in early access as well. At the $3 level, you get the webcomic in early access, and you get these episodes early and ad-free, which is awesome, especially for movies like this. When it's a new release we cover, it means that you can hear it and check it out before opening weekend, so you can decide if you want to go see it.
You can listen to our spoiler-free review, which will not have spoilers because we're super, super safe.
We're super safe.
Even when we're not sure.
Even when we're not sure, but Diana is right as I look back on it. So that is $3 early and ad-free. At the $10 level, you get both of the previous benefits, and you get our exclusive monthly Patreon episode of the podcast. This month on the podcast, we are talking about Shin Godzilla, the 2016 Japanese film. So we will be talking about that over on the Patreon later this week. So you're going to want to head over there and check it out if you want more Godzilla talk. And this is all available over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's go into the close. Let's ask the final question. Diana, what would you change?
My changes are pretty straightforward, pretty basic. I'm going to have more Godzilla in this Godzilla versus Kong movie. I like Kong a lot. I think maybe he can just get to the apes a little faster, a little less fighting with them. We can just cut some stuff along the way. Maybe one less weird thing with the magic. Seems to be a lot of magic things that the humans found. We can cut a little time. So I want more Godzilla. Just let him actually do something, have some character, be part of the plot. Let him find a portal. I don't know. He goes down by himself. He's picking off guys who are coming out kind of like a Pacific Rim type. I just protect the portal. I stand in front of it and I hit them when they come out. I don't know. I just want more Godzilla in this Godzilla versus Kong movie. And I'm going to make the Scar King way bigger. I just hated how small he was. He wasn't even small, but he was smaller than Kong. And I was like, I'm not scared of this guy. I can't believe you defeated Godzilla. I don't believe it for even half a second. So my Scar King's just bigger. I'm scaling him up. He's going to be a big, beefy boy who you really do need 2 guys to take down. These are my biggest changes for Godzilla / Kong, the new empire. Andrew, what would you change?
I like that. Scar King bigger, a little less magic. And what was the third thing?
More Godzilla.
More Godzilla. Yeah, I'm on board for all of these things. Yeah, it doesn't have much Godzilla. We could wrap Godzilla in a little bit quicker. I would even like to see, like we see Kong lose fights. I would like to see Godzilla lose a fight.
Oh, yeah.
To be like, they need each other to win this battle, I think would be a nice thing.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah. So I think my thing that would kind of like wrap this all together is that we've kind of added, one of my complaints about this movie is we've added too many new locations, where it's like we already have the mystical Hollow Earth, and now we have the underground, and then the lava layer in the underground, and then the secret city within, not the underground, but adjacent to, that's a different part of the Hollow Earth, and who cares? It's too much stuff. And one lore thing they drop in this movie is that they're like, Skull Island's destroyed. And that this girl is now the only person left of her group of people who lived there. And I'm like, we didn't see that? That feels like a waste. I would kind of like her being with her adoptive mother, and maybe the Scar King came out of the portal into Skull Island, and that was his first conquest. So then it is 2 people who are mad about losing their home while they were trying to find a new home. Both the girl and Kong, while trying to like find a new family, lost the family that they came from. And then it's that anger. And then we have the Scar King on Earth now, a place where Godzilla could go to fight it because it goes to fight titans that come out from the portal and lose. So now we've got a pissed off Kong who lost Skull Island, his old home, and we've got a loser Godzilla who just lost a battle and whose job is to keep this motherfucker from coming up to Earth. And now we can have a fight at like the ruins of Skull Island, which is where this guy is like mounting his attack on Earth.
And a no casualty fight because no one lives there.
Exactly. Which is what this movie also wants to have as well. And I think that there's a way to do that a little bit kind of more elegantly. So I think bring Skull Island back into the fold as a location. It is where the Scar King is coming out. It is where Godzilla lost a fight. And it is where we've already kind of seen like the strength of Kong when he's on home turf to play into those like, I know the ground, I know the layout traps type of a thing.
I've set some shit. And I love this. Let me throw this at you. It would make more sense if that was where Mothra was.
Yes.
I'm the only one who can wake up Mothra because I'm the only one from this island.
Yes. Love it.
Boom. I love this. Them both losing separately to Scar King is brilliant. Yeah. That's a wonderful change.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe even like, you know, the Hollow Earth people, rather than having an invisible city, were just kind of normal hiding and came up to Monarch and was like, hey, you guys got to know about the Scar King. He's coming up.
Yeah, he's on Skull Island. I don't know if you guys check that out anymore.
He's coming. I don't know if we need the whole, like, we have a secret pyramid that sends secret signals that look like a weird waveform that some people can telepathically hear and show up on your sonographs. And it's like, no, we can just walk up to you and be like, hey, bad guy coming.
Oopsie doodle.
Oops.
Diddy does it.
Diddy does it.
Diddy shows up and they're like, bad guy coming.
Bad guy coming.
Diddy. Crushing it.
So that's my change. Skull Island is back into the fold. And then we remove a few locations and we have a reason to get more Godzilla in, having lost a fight.
This change rules.
Thank you.
Done.
And I agree with your change as well, that like he needs to be redesigned as something that's just like, holy shit,
I would love a holy shit moment, you know? If he's gonna beat both these guys separately, I gotta have a holy shit moment.
Yeah. If he had like even just like a piece of armor, like the whole rope dart thing kind of worked, but just something to be like,
even if
whoa.
that crystal shot like ice instead of having a guy who does it.
Yeah.
If he could shoot his own ice.
Yeah.
From the crystal.
Yeah.
Something like
that. Well, I think we did it.
I think we did it.
Brilliant. Well, that is going to do it then for this week on the podcast for Godzilla / Kong, the new empire, the new empire. And next week we will be back. Next week we are continuing our Kong big creature kaiju energy.
Our Kong quest.
Boom,
boom, boom. Boom.
And we're gonna travel back in time for a movie we never talked about on the podcast. We're gonna talk about the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong.
Very, very different King Kong.
Very different energy.
I've seen it, only remember a little bit about it.
I'm the same. So we'll be talking about that next week on the podcast. And as a reminder, if you want more Godzilla talk, we're doing Shin Godzilla over on the Patreon episode at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes.
Also, as a reminder, just because I want to say it, we covered Godzilla -1 in December, and you guys should check that movie out.
That movie rips.
That movie's so good.
So good.
Just apropos of nothing. Just
Apropos to nothing.
Check that movie out.
And if you're in the Ottawa area, I am going to be doing shows there on April 26th and 27th at the Laugh Lounge. So come out and see me do live stand-up comedy if you're in the Ottawa area. And until next week, if you want to find us, you can find me online on Instagram and most places at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can find me on Tumblr at Words of Diana. A bunch of you have recently, and I think that's awesome. I love Tumblr. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at Pics of Diana.
Tumblr!
We love you, Tumblr. You'll never die.
And you can find both of us at From Superheroes, and you can check out the other podcasts and everything, our webcomic, everything that we create over at FromSuperheroes.com. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.